Hello, my friends. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the AI Show. We've been in a little bit of a hiatus, but here we are again. Just trying to do dramatic zooms here. Is it working? I'm so excited for everyone to be here. We've got a ton of cool stuff. Elbow cough from Pablo here. This has probably been one of the longest weeks of my life. Hold on. I'm going to say it with emphasis. Of my life. No, Microsoft Build is really exciting, but it's a lot of work. If you did not get to watch Microsoft Build, you should totally check it out. We did a really fun kind of show. It's a little different to try to get people interested. My friend Travis, how you doing, buddy? Ivana is here. Bienvenida. Hold on, I want to read this name correct. I'm going to put it to my bigger screen. Henry Briaud de Le Jardière. Did I say that well? I took French for 5 years only to go to Paris one time, and they were like, every time I spoke, they would reply in English. Sad trombone on that one. But yeah, we had a ton of announcements, and so what we're going to do this week and next week, we're going to have, during our AI show live, we are going to be doing a little recap on some of the announcements. We've recorded some stuff because some people couldn't be here, and so we decided to record all of them. But they are actually here to answer questions, and so that's, I think, the best part. Let's see where are people coming from. Love your Quaresma, man. I know what that word is. I lived in Spain, but I don't remember what it is. Here, let me move this over so I can see. Parisians are so rude. No, they're not. They're confident in themselves. That's okay. Confidence is great. They were not so confident in my French, because I speak what is called book French. Veronica. Привет, как дела? Всё хорошо сегодня? That was me in a hurry because it was Russian. These are the jokes, okay, people. I haven't seen you, Veronica, in a long time. I think I was like in the East Coast or like Philadelphia or something. Some Scott Guthrie meeting. Was that true? I think that was the last time. Maybe I've seen you before. Salut Khaled, j'espère que tout va bien. This is a multicultural experience right now. So I just want everyone to know. Do I speak Arabic? Fun story there, Imad. I lived in southern Spain for a couple of years, and one of my friends from Senegal, his name was Tuku. Well, he's probably still alive. His name is Tuku. I love the way Arabic looks. I love the way it's written. And so Tuku took it upon himself to teach me Arabic. And so I would go to his house, him and his friends, and they would teach me how to read the Quran in Arabic. I think I still remember the first surah. I'm not going to butcher it here in front of dozens of people. But yeah, I learned how to read it. And I would sit there and read out the Quran in Arabic, and Tuku and his friends would laugh and laugh. I'm glad I brought joy to their lives. Yes. So yes. Oh, you did see Build 2019 last time. The before times are all they're all like gone now. I don't even remember what it was like before in the before times. So yeah. Yes, great. Beautiful language. Like the thing about Arabic that's hard for me though is like the letter S with Seth. Right? In Arabic there's like a like right at the top, there's like a in like in the middle, there's like a in the back. And just switching between the three is just I'm terrible at it. I love languages though. For those that don't know, I did research in NLP, computational linguistics, and so understanding this stuff, it was really fun. All right, I think we should get to work here. I believe Chris is here. I'm gonna add Chris here to the stream. Boom.
Hey everyone, good to
How
be
you doing,
here. I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm excited.
So we had some fun announcements from your group of people. Do you want to tell us what it is, and then I'll play the wonderful video package. It's just people. There's gonna be laughter. There's gonna be tears. There's gonna be a spiritual, moving experience. Is that what we're going for, Chris?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was an exciting week for us. I'm a product manager of the Azure OpenAI service, and so this week we announced that we're going into what we call limited access public preview, which means everyone out there can go on to our product page and start to apply for access, and we'll start rolling customers onto the service in the coming weeks.
Cool. But before we do anything, we have to release a new version of Windows. It's not us.
Not me, unfortunately. Yeah.
We have no power over that. I mean, we could let's scream into all of us will emphatic. We want more Windows. Okay, that's all we can do. That one. All right, so let me cue it up, and we'll take a look, and then you okay to stick around and answer questions after?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's do it. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we talk about combining OpenAI models with the power of Azure. New from Build. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show where we're going to talk about combining OpenAI models with the power of Azure with Chris, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Hoder. I am the lead product manager on the Azure OpenAI service, and I'm excited here to talk about what we're building.
So let's talk about the Azure OpenAI service. People probably have heard of OpenAI, but now we're putting it together with Azure. Can you tell us about what we announced at Build?
Yeah, so this week at Build, we're really excited to announce the limited access public preview of the Azure OpenAI service. And so what that means is customers out there can start to apply for access to be able to use OpenAI's models in Azure today to use that for a huge number of language use cases.
And that's really cool, but they could have used that in OpenAI. What makes it doing it in Azure even better?
Yeah, so what makes it even better in Azure is that we provide a lot of what is often thought of as just the core goodness of Azure. We have security with Azure Active Directory based authentication for managed identities. You can do private networking with virtual networks and private links, and a whole swath of other features that really empower enterprises to take advantage of this tech in a really secure way.
Interesting. So if you want to try all the latest and greatest OpenAI, still go there. But if you're trying to put it into an enterprise setting, you want to do it with Azure. Am I getting this right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to think about it.
Fantastic. So I was hoping you could show us a little bit about how it works.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hop into a quick demo.
All right, let's do it.
So what you're seeing here is what we call the Azure OpenAI Studio. And this is our new UI that lets users quickly iterate and experiment with their use case. And that becomes really important with something like OpenAI's models because they are super flexible. And I want to show you a little bit about how flexible they are. And so what we have here is a simple text interface where I can copy in text and call it against the model. And what's unique about these types of large language models is you actually define the task with what you put into the prompt and send to the model to generate text. And so in this example that I'm showing first, I have an email. Well, you can imagine you're an insurance company and you want to understand what's being said in emails and other communications with your customers. And so we have a fictitious email here where somebody's emailing about an accident their son had with another driver. And you can imagine you want to start to ask questions on this data set, such as who was involved in the accident? Can I extract the names? And so all I have to do here is ask who are the names of the people involved in the accident. And you can see that the service analyzes that text and generated the correct answer with Jacob and Marina, which if you read through this, some of the driver was Jacob, the other driver was named Marina. It's really just that easy.
That's amazing. And it's amazing for me because when I was studying machine learning, my first NLP task was extracting entities. And just that the model does all of it is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It can save a ton of time to really get started and iterate quickly. And to show you even how powerful it is, next I want to use the same model, same interface, and do a different task. And so you think about extracting entities. Sometimes you want to extract like this example, but other times you want that in a structured format. And so here I have a set of text that describes, a new planet called Goo Crux and some
Yeah,
of the fruits that are available.
I've been there. Yeah, it's
And
wonderful.
yeah, wonderful place. And if you click generate, you can see that it starts to create a table summarizing the fruits from Goo Crux in a structured format. I'll just run that one more time so people can see. I gave it a couple of examples. I click generate and it understands that structure and start to pulls it out. And so you can see Loop Novas, neon pink, cotton candy like. There's plenty of Loop Novas, which are neon pink flavor, taste like cotton candy. Whoops.
That's really cool. Even like things that may seem nonsensical, it still makes a little bit of sense on it.
Yes, exactly. Cool. Yeah. And we can go even further, right? So we've shown structured text, we've shown asking questions. It can also do, more classical tasks like classification. And so a simple example here, we can classify the following article into one of these categories. And I'm defining these categories at runtime, right? So it's dynamic classification that's not going through that historic training loop, passing the news article, and just click generate, and it'll come back with the correct classification.
That's really cool. And this is just a model without any frill. This is just a standard Da Vinci model.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, so same model in all three cases. It's called our Text Da Vinci 001 model, which is one of the standard base GPT-3 models.
I see. And so I'm guessing there's other models in there too that you can work against that have varying degrees of accuracy, size, whatever.
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's actually two different pivots on this you could think about. There are models that have various degrees of size, and we call those the Ada, Babbage, Curie, and Da Vinci model series. Okay. And so Da Vinci being the most powerful, biggest model, Ada being much smaller. And what we really see is that's a trade-off between inferencing time. So smaller models will compute faster, you get higher throughput, versus capabilities and performance. And so Da Vinci, you get the best performance, but it's going to take a little bit longer. And so what we see is after solution, there's a bit of an optimization step where you might look at, can I solve my task with Curie and maybe do it a little bit faster, a little bit cheaper? Or can I go all the way down to Ada? And you start to optimize down as you progress through that production journey.
That's cool. So as we're looking at this, if you want to show more examples, that's awesome. Show them. But I also want to ask the question, there's probably a time when these models get you most of the way there, but it feels like you need to do something a little bit more specific. After you show us more examples, if you have any, I'd love to know, how do we make these models more attuned to data that I might have, for example?
Yeah, that is a great question. I have one more example and then we'll hop into that. The other example looks at, you mentioned there's multiple different flavors of the model. So we looked at the text GPT-3 series, which is the base series that you've probably heard about with OpenAI. What I also wanted to show quickly was our Codex model series. And the Codex model series came from a partnership with GitHub, really looking at training these models on large corpuses of open source code. And so how do you do code-based tasks, natural language to code, code to natural language for code commenting, and is one of the underlying model type that's used to power our GitHub Copilot feature, for example. And so I will change the model, but I won't change anything else here. And so we're using the same API structure, same type of call. And I will copy in a little example here where imagine I want to do some code commenting, which I personally always leave till the very end of my projects. And so there's super helpful tool. And so we have we have a method here that'll randomly split a data set. And I'm basically asking for an elaborate, high quality doc string for the above function.
And this is documentation that we would always write. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, always write this. Yeah.
But that's delightful. I mean,
so that good.
I mean, just the fact that, because this is code that we've all kind of written, but the fact that it writes this good of a doc string is delightful.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it can be a big time saver for tons of different use cases. But I think it is also important to call out what you were mentioning earlier. In some cases, if you have a complex task or it's really industry specific, you find that out of the box, it's not going to quite get you there. And so that's where we have the fine tuning process, which is
Okay.
taking these same models, customizing the actual weights. And so everything here that we're showing, you're not changing the actual model or any of its weights. You're just providing it context at that call time. And so what you can do right in this UI or via APIs, you can go over to this model section and actually go and create a customized model. And the way you create that customized model is starting with one of these base model series. So I'll choose Ada here, which is one of the smaller models that'll train real fast. And then you update your training data. And so a training or validation data set. And so here I have a training set and a validation set. And you can also then start to tune some of the hyperparameters. If you don't quite know what these are, you can go with some of the defaults and it'll train a decent model right out of the box. So we'll kick that off and that'll start to train. Right on, once that's complete, you can then go and deploy these models for inference. And what I'm training here is it's a set of data that trains the models to speak like Homer. And so we've added a lot of training different examples of Homer's writings and scripts to try to convert how the model talks and provide a more ancient Greek flavor to our conversations.
And this is something we did in one of our breakouts and in the keynote at Microsoft Build, just because I was interested, like literally, I was interested to see what marketing copy would look like in the style of Homer, not Simpsons, by the way. Homer from Homer, Greek Homer.
Right, exactly. And so I've taken that same data here, walked you through the process just to show you how that would look, and we have it running here. And so you can start to ask very interesting questions to get some of that Homerian flavor out of it. And so we can ask it, why is the AI show awesome?
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, these two questions are synonymous. Why is the AI show awesome? Why the dark frowns cast o'er his brows? Because they weren't watching the AI show, I think, Chris, is what
Yeah,
we're trying to figure out what's going on here. This is really funny.
yeah. So you could start to play around with this, and you can also see the iterative nature where you do experiment with those prompts to figure out the right way to use it for every use case. So maybe I should have asked, why should I watch the
This is literally someone actually said that to me the other day. I have watched enough of it. Thank you for the confidence boost there, specialized. Now, this is all very humorous, but there may be a situation where organizations have specialized vocabulary, a specialized way of putting things together, that fine tuning will bear this out. Because I'm looking at this, it looks like I'm reading like the Iliad from Homer or something.
Right, right.
So, like, are we seeing organizations do stuff like this?
So we are, yes, we're seeing lots of organizations start to pick up fine tuning, really apply it to their specific use cases. And it typically you get a lot of mileage understanding what's possible, how we might use these models by iterating on these prompt designs with the base models. And then you start to learn, develop the data set to go and train with, at least a couple hundred examples for things like summarization in very specific use cases, whether that's financial information, financial statements, customer support conversations, or even medical documents, right? All of those have their own flavor of jargon, different types of words are being used, as well as you might have different sets of important information. And that really becomes um, easier to extract with the fine tuning process.
Awesome. So this is all really, really cool. But one of the things that is always top of mind, at least for me, when I'm using these kinds of generative models, is the notion of using them responsibly. How are we helping folks use this responsibly?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something that's really top of mind for us as we start to broaden access to the service in the public preview. And so it's one of the main reasons why we did progressed very slowly with invite only, and now we're going to ask customers to apply and submit their use cases to ensure that the service and this generative capability isn't being misused or abused for malicious purposes. And then within the product, we're actually starting to develop a set of product tools to help our customers develop the applications responsibly. We're starting with what we call content filtering, content management. And so what's going to happen is when you or a customer makes an API call, does this generation step, both that prompt and the generated text will get evaluated against a series of classifiers for, really, to identify abuse or misuse. And so looking for kind of those very high sensitive topics, like is it hate speech or is there, violent content being sent? And we'll actually start to filter that out and block it to ensure that that kind of content does not go back to the customer.
I see. So we're doing content filtering based upon those axes that you described on the way in, essentially, as well as on the way out. Am I getting that right?
Yes, yes, yeah. So it's actually looking for somebody that is on the way in trying to misuse it, and then as well stopping any bad generation on the way out.
Well, I mean that's awesome because, like I said, that's the one concern I have with generative models: is could it make people feel excluded? Could it say things that are untoward? And we're doing a lot of work already to make sure that that does not happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's one of many tools we've found that no one single solution is going to solve the whole problem of abuse and misuse. And so there's the gating, there's these filtering tools, and then the third big one that we do have and we're working on is solution design. So how do our customers design in a responsible way? And that's not unique to the Azure OpenAI service. It's an AI problem, and Microsoft is really investing a lot across the company in providing guidelines, research, and ideas of how customers can do that. And so, we'll start to incorporate that into our documentation within the Azure OpenAI service as well.
Well, amazing. Where can people go to find out more? Maybe sign up, learn more.
Yeah, I think there's a link right below us on where to go and sign up. You have to go apply for access. You can start doing that today. You just have to provide a little information on what you intend to do with the service, and so that we can ensure that it matches against our responsible AI policies.
Which is again another axis of how we're doing, another axis along the line of how we're doing this responsibly, I think, which is really cool.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, this has been amazing, Chris. Thanks so much for spending some time with us, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Can't wait to be back.
Awesome. All right. You've been learning all about combining OpenAI models with the power of Azure here on the AI Show. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. How about them apples?
Yeah,
That was
great.
cool. So I want questions. Folks have questions. Chris is here for another 6 minutes asking questions. If you don't ask him questions, I'm gonna ask him questions because this stuff is cool. By the way, that Homer thing we did is hilarious. It says the darndest things sometimes. Have you played with it some more, Chris?
Oh, I play with it all the time. It's really fun. I was looking at it this morning, just joking around with what you can put in it. But the more you play around with it, the more you can understand how the model works, and you can kind of get a feel for how to construct those prompts. And that, I mentioned it in the recording, there is a little bit of a learning curve there to really think about how you go and use the model and get it to behave in the way that you want it to.
But yeah, I mean, and this is a service that people can start using now, but they have to apply. Tell us about that process, because I know we didn't get into it too much.
Yeah, so if you go to the product page at the link that we showed, you'll find that there's a link to apply for access. You'll go through a process, and there's a series of questions, and basically there's two stages that we look at. There's the first stage is what we call experimentation stage. So this is getting initial access to the service. You start to explore it, identify that, hey, this can work for your solution. You will then go build your application, and we have a second gate or milestone, if you will, at the production phase. And so before going to production, we want you to come back and reapply as well to ensure that, hey, all the mitigations are there to ensure that it is going to get used responsibly. And so what that means is for the experimentation phase, it's really just about understanding the use case. Is it aligned with the principles? do you agree to kind of think about applying the right mitigations? And then at the production phase is basically asking, did you apply those, and have they been implemented so that it's going to it's all aimed at you really want to Sarah Bird has said it best. You want to, what is it? Optimize the benefits while mitigating the harms, right? And so how do you? That's the thing I always think about
So
whenever
good.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, she's so awesome. And if you haven't watched our keynote, she is secretly very funny. Here's a question from DF Meta. Welcome, by the way, bienvenido. Can I do translations with OpenAI?
It's a great question. So yes and no. It was officially we say use it for English only. The training of the model did incorporate some other languages, roughly at the proportion of presence of languages on the open internet. And so if you send it German, if you send it French, it'll understand it and be able to respond. But your performance is going to be degraded or less than you see it in English. And so what we advise is, hey, if you really want to try to use it for a different language or start to do translations, really test it thoroughly. Make sure that it's going to perform at the needs that you want. And then this is also an open research question for future models of the service.
So here's another question, because I as a technologist, which we all are, everyone here that's watching, the best way to understand a technology is to know when you shouldn't use it, right? Because, like, for example, like, you shouldn't be doing XML stuff that much anymore unless you have to, right? I mean, sometimes you have to, and I'm not saying this is anything like XML or it's deprecated or anything, but can you tell us the boundary of where, like, for example, this question of translation, I'm sure there's better ways to do translation than using large language models.
Yeah, it's a great question, because I was thinking that as well, right? Like, we have a fantastic translation service within the cognitive services. It's optimized performant to the translation task. And so it's an evolving space. The way I think a lot about it is, if you know the task that you want to do and there is a higher level service that can do that task, you're going to find that that is often quickest, most cost performant, and optimized for that solution. And so um, the as well, like, similar to the talk that Sarah was in with Eric Boyd's presentation this week at Build, Eric talked a lot about, right, like, go as high as you want or as high as you can. So start with the simplest, most task specific type technologies, and then only go lower to that more granular tech when you have to, when you need that customization, when you need that flexibility and configurability, because that's going to add time and effort in the development phase. And so yeah, good.
There was a professor I had in computer science, and he's like, there is, and for those that are nerdy about this, the fastest search algorithm is like n log n or something. It's just a big O notation. He said there is something faster than n log n, but it only works on very large data sets. And he's like, but you never use it because you don't kill a fly with a shotgun, right? And that's, sometimes people are like, oh, new tech, and it's like a shotgun. It's like, well, you don't kill a fly with a shotgun, so maybe don't. So start high. We have cognitive services, and then go low if you need to. So can you give us examples of where this is useful and no other thing can do it?
Yeah, where it's extremely useful is content generation, content writing capabilities. And so thinking about I think about it a lot as like solving that blank page problem, right? You come into a paper and you don't know what to do. Like, how do we help accelerate that ideation innovation step? And so this is taking text and starting to generate subject line headers or marketing emails, things like that. That's a big space. And then as well, forms of abstractive summarization and data extraction. So, understanding what's in data and then summarizing into a paragraph. So we see lots of use cases like that with customers today, where they really want to just accelerate that time to understanding.
Yeah, and then Ivana brings up a good point. What about code generation? There's no other models that can do that.
Yeah, code generation is a great one. I almost can't believe I missed that with GitHub's Copilot. It's just a fantastic tool. Like, if you haven't tried it, I think everyone that attended Build gets a free access. It's just a lot of fun, and I use it, daily as I'm writing various code snippets.
Well, Chris, this has been delightful. Thank you
Yeah.
for spending some time with us, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
And we'll have to have you on again so that you can tell us all about the new stuff from Azure OpenAI as well.
We got tons of new stuff coming, so I'll be back soon.
All right, buddy. We'll see you.
Take care.
All right. Now it's time to welcome with, a round of applause, Cesar. How you doing, buddy?
Good. That's a good.
And Cesar and I speak Spanish, and we have a good Latin American contingent in the audience right now. We should just do this all in Spanish. I mean, what do you think?
Sí, podemos hacerlo.
Claro que sí, ¿por qué no? Porque en español uno se puede, ¿cómo se dice? Uno puede decir las cosas así como fuerte. Did you like that, everybody? Do I sound different in Spanish? Do we sound different in our other languages, Cesar? Or, like, does our intonation change or what?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right, buddy. So you are on here. You are here today to talk about some of the novedades. That's the word. By the way, I have like old school paper of what I'm supposed to be doing. Thanks, Peggy. We're going to be talking about automated machine learning and what's new, right?
Right. So basically, I'm going to be focusing more in this session is more about automated machine learning and what's new about automated machine learning as part of Azure ML, Azure Machine Learning. Right.
Fantastic. So we recorded this, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's play it, and then are you okay to stick around for questions?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show where we talk all about what's new in Azure Machine Learning, automated ML with my good friend Cesar. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show where we're talking all about what's new in Azure Machine Learning, automated ML with my good friend Cesar. Cesar, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Cesar de la Torre. I work in the Azure Machine Learning team as Principal Program Manager.
Fantastic. So we've had a lot of shows on automated machine learning. Can you tell us what it is for those that maybe haven't heard about it yet?
Yeah. So AutoML is part of the Azure Machine Learning product. And basically, it allows you to have more productivity. So instead of having to know all the algorithms and how to create a model, you can just provide data, what kind of machine learning task you want to do, like classification, regression, time series, and then what you want to predict. And then we'll do a bunch of different trainings with different models, comparing one to the other. And finally, let's say we train 50 or 100 models, we give you the best one. And then you can just deploy it, use the model, and something new that I'm going to tell later about code generation.
That's actually really cool because I remember describing this to data scientists and they were like, well, wait a minute, Seth, this is something that we needed to really, like, the boring part of machine learning is going through all the first models, and this kind of takes that away. And I honestly, I think it's great. So question for you, Cesar, what's new? What should people be looking out for?
Yeah, so one thing that's new, you can use it today as public preview with SDK 1 or even from the UI and see it, is code generation. Basically, we are creating a white box with AutoML. So instead of, like, until now, AutoML was, some people could say it's kind of a black box because I provide the data, you give me the model, but then with the model, I can just deploy it and use it. But we got the feedback from customers saying that, hey, I have regulations and policies, and because of the law sometimes, that I need to have the real training code of the model that I'm going to deploy into production. And also when I have, like, deterministic reproducibility. So this is the code for that model. If I get new data, it'll train exactly the same way. And finally, there are also some data scientists that they say, hey, but I want full control of the training code. And I also even want to tweak the hyperparameters of the model and, work at lower level of what AutoML gives me, right? So that's provided with code generation. It's like the real training code of the model that we provided with AutoML. And it can be any. You can pick the best one, or you can get any other model, kind of child models on the way, and you can see the training code for that particular model.
And that's actually really cool because I know it used to make the model and then you would just get it and it would be wonderful. But now you just don't get the model file. Let's just say it's a pickle file because it's, maybe a scikit-learn model or something. But now you actually get the code that you would have written if you would have done it, because I'm guessing there's a lot of different settings that go and are involved with building these models, like featureizers, model hyperparameters, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I go to the next slide, basically you could go to the UI, also from the SDK, but like from the UI is pretty clear. You select any model from AutoML from a particular experiment, like say this one, XGBoost classifier, and then you can see the script.py, which is the training code of that particular model. In this case, I'm showing here just the algorithm, like scikit-learn XGBoost classifier with the hyperparameters. But even before the training, we are also generating the featureization of the data, what transformations are happening on each of the columns. So it's kind of the end-to-end processes. You load the data until the model is trained, and you can see it's like we are using a scikit-learn pipeline fit, and this is training your model. Right?
That's cool. So when you're calling these, how do you set these up? Can you only just do it in the UI? You have to give it data, or there are multiple ways to do this?
There are multiple ways. I can do a demo if you want.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's take a look. So yeah, so basically the way you kind of trigger CodeGen is like it's going to happen by default. Like you don't need to do something special. You could just like create an AutoML experiment from the UI, so data set, kind of the typical workflow with AutoML. Or you can also create the experiment with AutoML, like a regular AutoML config with SDK1 in this case, what you want to do, like the task and so on. And then we have just one particular property, which is for enabling or disabling code generation. By default, it's now going to be generating the code. So even if you don't put it, it's going to be working. But you could disable code gen, right? So basically, it's like a regular training. So when you launch that AutoML training, you will see like always, like different models that have been trained with AutoML. This is the best one, and let's say I want to see, I'd like to see what's the training code for this particular model, like XGBoost classifier. Mm-hmm. You could select here and click on View Generated Code, or I can also get into the models page, like I'm click now. And because also something that we added like quite a few months already for visibility is, you get a model, but you can see that you can just deploy it, download it, explain it. We also added like you can view the hyperparameters for this particular model, and these are the hyperparameters. But that was not enough, because if you want to create the training code for this model, then you need to do kind of a reverse engineer, all the featureization. That can be complex, right?
Right.
And we made it super simple. You just click here on View Generated Code for this particular model, and then we're going to copy like two files, basically. One is a notebook, convenient notebook to run that training code, and then the training code, which is a py file, right? Yeah. So this is a convenient notebook, but at this point, this is not AutoML anymore. It's just using Azure Machine Learning SDK, where it's specifying like the cluster where you can run that training code of that particular model. And also something interesting is we are using the environment, the Docker environment that was used when training. So you have all the dependencies, but then it's like a very simple code. Like it's just using script run config pointing to the script.py, which is the code, the training code, right? So this is just a way to run script.py in the cloud. But then this is the interesting code, script.py. And here is where you can see how we load the data. I'm going to go to the interesting part, but you can see load the data, split data sets. Then there are some code for preparing the data.
It's everything that you would do if you were writing this thing, basically.
Exactly. Here you can see the data, like the columns featureization. This is a data set with 50 columns. And you can see that I'm doing the same featureization for a group of columns and then another featureization for another group. So this is kind of optimized. And then this is the interesting code, right? Like you can see we are using XGBoost classifier, all the hyperparameters for this particular model. You could tweak any of these hyperparameters. And finally, you can see here the scikit-learn pipeline for the steps, featureization, preprocessing, and the model training. And then when you call here fit, then it's training, right? So you could even take this code, change the way you are loading the data set and run it anywhere, even on premises. But of course, we made that notebook that is gonna make you just super easy to run this training code, like just running that notebook, right?
And what's cool is it's not like I was looking at the code, it's like, oh, this is just regular code that I would run if I was doing this myself. But it turns out that the automated machine learning thing went through a whole bunch of them to try stuff out.
Yeah, because this code is using, just like in this case, scikit-learn. And then there are a few libraries that we are providing as decoupled libraries as well, things for like some featureization steps, or maybe related to assembly. But most of the code, we wanted to use directly the open source classes, like in this case, XGBoost classifier.
So that was really cool. It was cool to see how the thing ran, but it wasn't like some hidden thing. You actually had the code for the notebook to run it, and then you actually had the code for the actual model, featureization, all that stuff. Anything else that's new?
Yeah, the other area that I like to highlight is precisely like now in build, we are releasing a new version of the development platform. And then AutoML is part of this new version, V2. So then previously in V1, there was a CLI for Azure Machine Learning, but not for AutoML. So this is completely new, supporting CLI for AutoML. And basically that means that you can write in a YAML file all the AutoML experiment properties, like what task, what's your data, what's the timeout, and so on. And then run or trigger that training run directly from a command, a single line of command pointing to the YAML, right? So why would you want to do that? So it's great for MLOps operations. So basically, you can trigger training in your CI/CD, but for models from GitHub Actions or from Azure DevOps. And then I find myself like it's super easy to test again, like the same run, but just tweaking one property and then run it again quickly from the CLI, right? And then, of course, we also have support for Python SDK, because when you are kind of working with the data, transforming the data, exploring the data, for that, like using a notebook is a lot more flexible, right? So we also have that in V2, but then we improve the code, because in V1, the AutoML config class has like a very long list of properties, possible properties. And now we kind of simplify the signature. So just a short list for what's common, and then like optional sections later. So it's a cleaner code. So let me do a demo, first of all, about the CLI.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, you write the properties of your AutoML job in YAML. So for instance, I can see here the experiment name, the task classification, what's the target column name, and so on. And the cool thing is that because I'm using VS Code, Visual Studio Code, and because I'm putting here the schema, then we also have IntelliSense. So for instance, if because the task is classification, the parametrics are different than if the task was like a regression or forecasting. So
Right.
if I delete and then control space, we should have here, the multiple possibilities for classification primary metrics. Like in this case, I select the area under the curve, right? So once you have like all the properties in the YAML, then you just simply go to the CLI and you just use the extension with the Azure CLI. So in this case is AC machine learning job create, and then I'm providing here that YAML file, and of course where I'm gonna run it, like workspace, resource group, and so on. You can put all these except the file like in by default values, but it's also flexible to change it here, right? And then just hit enter, and in just a few seconds, it will trigger asynchronously a run.
So that's really cool. Basically, with the CLI command, what you're doing is you're giving it instructions in the YAML that has some auto completions that tell it to run an automated machine learning job, and that just runs it in the cloud?
Right. So at the end of the day, it's exactly the same kind of action that if you trigger that from Python, right? At the end, I have this run, and then it's going to run multiple child runs for different model trainings, but it's exactly the same. In this case, it was triggered from the CLI. In other cases, it can be triggered from the Python SDK, which is what I'm going to show you now.
Okay.
In this case, I have this notebook with the new Python SDK from Azure Machine Learning. And you can see that we have these new functions. We call it like factory functions. This is for classification. So this is one difference. Like now with AutoML, we have like 10 different tasks. It's not just classification, regression, and time series, but also for related to images, computer vision, object detection, and also NLP for text classification and so on. So basically, what we're doing is that we are having like 10 different factory functions. In this case, I'm using here for the classification example that we were discussing. And then we have like a first level properties, kind of which ones are the most common. And with this would be enough, because then the rest are by default values. But then if you want to kind of add additional properties like limits for timeouts, or I want to block some algorithms, or even additional properties related to assembling and so on, then we have these additional setters. So it's kind of a lot more kind of clearer instead of having like a very long list of properties on the root, right? Then once we have this job configured, then we use the same kind of a function launcher in Azure Machine Learning to create a job. So create or update, and then we provide our classification job, and then again the same thing, right? But now these runs or this experiment is created with from the SDK, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is really cool. So to summarize, if I'm understanding this, we have the new stuff. We have the code gen, which I thought was really cool. We have the new CLI with some YAML descriptions, autocomplete inside of Visual Studio Code, and then we have the new SDK that has some simplification, some factory methods, and some setters, which make it all a whole lot easier. I mean, am I getting this right?
Yeah, it's that's right.
This is so cool. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The only thing that I wanted to add as well, although I'm not covering this today, and I think you also did other shows for this. New things in AutoML is precisely AutoML for images.
That's right.
This like classification, object detection, image segmentation, and then also NLP for text classification and so on, and some improvements about forecasting and hierarchies. But yeah, this is also in preview and really exciting, because now we are kind of getting AutoML into the world of deep learning with these new tasks as well.
Well, this has been really cool. Just a little link here. If you want to learn more about CodeGen, we got a little link just down there for you. This has been really awesome, Cesar. Thank you so much for being with us, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. We've been learning all about what's new in Azure Machine Learning, automated ML here on the AI Show. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. And there it is.
Here we are again.
That was delightful. Here, look at this. Look at this. This is a question. More of a statement from Luis Beltran. I like the yet and no image classification, meaning its capability we might see in the future. Do we have image classification for automated?
So I think that he was referring to CodeGen.
Oh.
So basically, we have image classification, like all the different tasks that you just saw, and also NLP in AutoML. But for CodeGen, we still don't have it. We have classification, regression, and time series for tabular data. And then in upcoming versions, pretty soon, we're going to have also code generation for computer vision and NLP.
Fantastic. So yes, so there is, you can do computer vision with automated machine learning, the CodeGen stuff. Not yet.
Yeah, but good catch with the yet.
Nice. All right, another one from Luis. A great question. So if I understand correctly, CodeGen, oh man, it's so small. I got to move it over here. CodeGen creates not only the Python script, but also the notebook. Can you describe like what those two things are?
Yeah, so basically the Python script, the .py is the interesting code, is like the training code of the model, right? But if we just provide that, you need to run it somehow, right? You could run it on your computer, or so we are providing this convenient notebook just as a very simple way to run that code in Azure ML in your workspace. So you just open the notebook, hit run the notebook, and then it's going to run the training code, and you'll see it as a run, as a job, and you can get the model.
So the script file is just the machine learning part, and you can ostensibly run that on your own machine with your GPU, whatever. It's the actual code to build a model. The notebook is a way to take that code and run it in Azure Machine Learning.
Exactly.
I got it. So there was a question early on that was not as related. I'm looking for it here. A very good question by Brandon. Is Azure ML serverless? And I feel like that's it depends. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, being purist, I would say that today it is not serverless, because you can run your, inference, or you can run trainings on different Azure compute. So I would say it's more managed compute, not serverless. And the difference is that you can say, I want to run this training on this particular compute instance, or on this managed cluster, which is under the covers is a Kubernetes cluster, but it's managed. So it's as simple as just, hey, this cluster has this name, and then I want to have like maximum 5 nodes. As simple as that. And then you say, okay, now I want to do this training on that cluster. But since you are able to, specify the size of the VMs and number of VMs, I wouldn't say it's serverless. But the good news, some customers, they want to be able to, have this control. So I think it's a good approach as well. But in addition, and for the future, we are working on kind of a serverless ML as well.
And but when it comes to, like, for example, inference, we do have something that feels serverless with MIO, managed inference.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Probably I'm always more thinking on the training side, because my team is the training team. But that's right. Like for inference, I think you could say it's more serverless.
Fantastic. Now, one question that I did not ask during the show, are people using automated machine learning? What are some cool wins that, obviously we don't talk about customers without their permission, but what are some kinds of things that you're seeing done that are just working really well?
Well, related to AutoML, probably forecasting, time series forecasting is something that many customers are using with a lot of usage, a lot of trainings of the models, and then we are getting started with deep learning, images, and so on. And then there's another cool thing for the enterprise, which is a solution on top of not just AutoML but also machine learning for custom script, which is called many models. So many models is kind of a solution accelerator when you need to train not just hundreds but even thousands of models, and each model using or training with different data. That's the key, right? So imagine you have a company organization that has thousands of branches or stores, and each model should be training with different data for that particular store. So that's complex, because then how do you train like 2,000 models, each one with these different data, right? So that's something that like customers with thousands of models, they're using as well.
And like, it's cool because like you run into this problem of like, you try to generalize with all data, but if you're in Florida versus, Argentina, the store data and like when people show up and do stuff, it's really regionally based. And so having a model per location is actually quite useful, I think. And automated machine learning can help with this, of course, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So another question I want to ask you is, with this code that you're generating, like, whose code is it? Can anyone just use it however they like?
Sure. So when AutoML generates that code, is the training code of one of those models. At that point, it's not AutoML, is code using libraries, packages, right? So it's at this point is your own code. You can take it and you can version that code for audits, or you can change it, update it, tweak it, the hyperparameter. So it's your own code. It's like you can take it and put it any other way on premises and train it the way you want. So it's your own code since that moment.
Amazing. Luis puts it really well. We can focus on tuning, optimization, or other tasks now. Like seriously, like whenever you get a new machine learning problem, it's always the same. It's like you get the square of data, you try XGBoost or logistic regression or something, right? And you go through a week of just doing the boring stuff, and now this is automated. Now, here's a question. I remember a long time ago, there was a recommendation engine inside of automated machine learning. Is that still the case?
No. Maybe you mean recommendation machine learning task?
No, I mean like whenever it ran a machine learning algorithm, it looked at the output and the training, and then it suggested a new machine learning algorithm to use. Does AutoML still do that? Or is it just try like in a for loop, a bunch of them?
Yeah, so AutoML is going to try many different algorithms. The more budget you have, like hours at the end of the day, it's going to try more trainings, and then it's comparing the validation metrics for each of those models, like creating a ranking table with all the models, and then, hey, this is the best one we achieved in, let's say, 2 hours or 6 hours, right?
How does it know which models to choose?
Based on the validation metrics, because at the end of the day, you train the model, and then part of the data is going to be for training, but other part is going to be used for validating the model. So doing many predictions and then comparing those predictions with the original data set.
No, I get that. I guess I'm asking a different question. So as automated machine learning is running, you are training many different models.
Right.
How do you know which models to choose to do training on? Does that make sense? So you're trying XGBoost, you're trying a logistic. How do you, like, how does it know which model? Or do you just have a huge list of models?
Right. Yeah. So AutoML, and that's kind of the secret sauce of AutoML. Basically, per each AutoML task, we have a number of algorithms. Also, same thing for images, a number of DNNs, right? And then based on the data, kind of what type of data, we make a high level analysis of the data. And then we start training with different models, depending on what validation metric we got with the first one. we choose another model. That's kind of the heuristics of AutoML, which is precisely the value of our AutoML, right?
Yeah, and so there's a heuristic that naturally y'all have chosen. It's kind of like a recommendation,
right?
If you like this,
at the end of the day, that's based on millions of trainings from other customers as well, that we are improving that heuristics in order to get to the best model sooner.
And the heuristic is almost like a machine learning model trained on the training of machine learning models.
Kind of, yeah.
That's cool. All right, my friend, this has been delightful. Thank you for being with us, bud.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, we'll see you next time. Hopefully you'll have some more stuff to show us sometime soon. All right, bud. All right, take care. All right, that was Cesar. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guy. I'm so glad he's here. I'm trying to put some music on here so that it's not so empty. That's some good questions here so far. If you smash AI into one piece, it's called microintelligence. Hold on, I have something for that. I did 2 of them for you, Markham. Mark Fenn, the cat. Oh yeah, my mind is blowing thinking about Copilot plus AutoML. I know, right? Here's the thing. I'm going to go into and Vinod is here. We'll get him on soon. Let me wax into here. I'm going to get into my Anytime you see a post that says, "Will AI replace square bracket type of person?" the answer is always no. No. AI will not replace people. Just like a car didn't replace my feet. Yeah, this stuff is designed to enhance, and make lives better. But it's not like killing. We're not going to like take people out back and be like, okay, we don't need coders anymore because Copilot's going to do all the coding. I can't even do coding correctly. You think a computer's going to figure it out based upon what we because like it's basically searching over code that we wrote, and so it's going to be just as bad as us, if not worse. All right, let's bring Vinod on. Hello, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, Seth. How you doing? Good, thanks.
Fantastic. So you are here because we talked to Lou about some form recognizer stuff, but she's in China, and I thought stealing her Friday night. By the way, Cesar is currently on vacation, and Chris is also kind of. Are you on vacation too, Vinod, today?
Technically, no. No, I'm not. I'm here.
This is a vacation for us, Vinod.
No, this is
a delightful Friday. But so they're here on their days off. And so Cesar is going to go to get a fun. Hold on, let me bring you on, Cesar. Are you going to get like a fun lunch sometime? Here, let me unmute you. Where are you going for lunch?
I'm gonna go to a restaurant like Havana 1950s.
The one in Redmond, right?
Yeah,
I know where that is. I went with Anthony once, who was the PM of VB a long time ago, VB.net. Delightful place. Will you get some plantains for me and Vinod and just think of us as you slowly chew on them? Here, hold on. It'll be like this. Think of us, and we will think of you. Wow, this is epic. All right.
The audio on the show is going to be kind of weird if you're munching on plantain chips while we're talking. That'll be just kind of.
I know, chewing on plantains when they play the video, just like exactly what people want to hear. All right, Cesar, sorry. I just wanted to tell everyone, thank you for coming.
Thanks to you. Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, Vinod, should we play the video?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it. I'm going to add it to the stream and let's play it right now. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show. We're going to talk all about the newest features from Azure Form Recognizer with my friend Lou. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. Where we're talking all about the newest features from Azure Form Recognizer with my good friend Lou. Lou, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Zhang. I'm a product manager working on Azure Form Recognizer.
So we're talking about the newest features. Can you tell us all about them?
Sure, yeah. In the Azure Form Recognizer, we have a bunch of models that can help you extract text, key value pairs, tables, and the structures from your documents. We have already done a lot of models, like including the document analysis, pre-built models to understand your domain-specific documents, as well as the custom models. So in the latest release, we have introduced the health insurance cards and vaccination card as the two pre-built model that you can use in the healthcare scenario. You can also do the custom models to understand the unstructured documents like contracts to help you easily manage your contracts documents.
So that's fantastic. So basically, we're adding new models. You're adding, I didn't do any of the work. You're adding new models to automatically recognize things like vaccine cards. Is that right? How does that work?
Yes. Yeah, let me show a quick demo.
Okay.
So what I'm going to show is this little app, which you can easily take a picture using this scanned COVID-19 vaccination card. I just take a picture, and I don't need to wait for that. I have already processed this vaccination card and ID document. And as you can see from the result, it can quickly extract your key information from the vaccination card, including date of birth, first, last name, and when you got your vaccination for the first and the second dose. So that's how, yeah, it's very easy and straightforward. Just the two simple API calls, you can get all this information.
Yeah, so it basically looks at the form and extracts all of that data. And the next question, you kind of like jump to it because how is this done? You said say simple API call. Can you show us that too?
Exactly. You just need two simple API calls. So as I just mentioned, we have two new pre-built model. One is the vaccination card, and the other is the healthcare insurance card, which this is the example on our studio. And the key information we extract, including like copays, group number, ID number, insurer, etc. As you might know, like for all these health insurance card, it's issued by different companies. So there are a lot of templates, which is not easy that you can extract this information. But what we offer today is just the REST API, which I'm going to show you in this Jupyter notebook. The thing you just need to set up is deploy your form recognizer resource and input your endpoint and API keys and specify the version and put the post URL composed as this. And then use the headers as the key you have already got. And you can also pass in through this source URL with a pointer to your image, as I just showed. Using the stream file, use the base 64 format to fit in your file. And then comes to the most exciting part, which you just need to do a HTTP post with the headers and the body of the data. And once it's analyzed, you can then use this GET request to get the result. So the result is returned in a JSON format, which you can see an easy sample here. It includes all the text information with the bounding box and words. It also includes the key fields, which I just showed, like the copays, the RxBin, RxPCN information. And I have this function that you can parse this JSON result, and the output will be something look like this.
Interesting. So it's literally just a post and a get call to get the stuff out of the form in the way that you want it.
Yes, exactly.
That's really cool. Now, you did mention a little bit about custom things. What did you mean by that?
Yes. Again, you can go back to the Form Recognizer Studio. which you can click on from the homepage, the custom model tile, and then you will enter this page. We have two options, template-based models and neural models. Today I'm going to show is the neural model, which can help you to understand unstructured documents like contract. As you know, like contract is really like these long documents and it's unstructured. So it takes a lot of time for these legal lawyers to analyze the document and review them and manage them. But with the custom neural model, which you can easily build a customized model to train that with a few samples. And what you just need to do is to label 5 samples from the like agreement, which I have already prepared. You can like highlight these labels, different party names, alias, and their like the agreement title and effective date, etc. And once you have finished the labeling, you can simply click on the train button, and that will trigger the model training process. So we can name it as like the second iteration of the contract model, and put some description, then select the neural one and kick off the training. This may take a few minutes to run, and I have already prepared one which finished the training. And once you get the model available, you can just click on the model and click on test. And I can then just upload an image. This is notice like another type of contract. It's not the same contract which I use for the training, but it's a co-branding agreement. But what I can simply do is just click on the analyze button, and it will automatically extract this information which I want to like analyze and manage the contract.
So as it's doing that, because I want to see, because I want to catch up a little bit. So basically, you take any contract that you have that you want to do form processing on, you highlight the things that you want to get out of it, and
Yes.
then you train a model with examples of these things. Am I getting this right so far?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then once you've trained the model, how many documents would you need? Well, we'll get to that question in a second. You train the model, and then you can give it new forms that it can
Yep.
do inference on to get the stuff out.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So if we zoom in a little bit, as you can see, the training data I use is all like affiliate agreement, which is one type of the agreement, the contract. But the testing data, which I'm doing the prediction against, is the co-branding agreement, which is another type. But even though these are two different types of documents, I can still like use one which is available for my training and predict another type.
Interesting. So basically, you're able to go through a ton of forms and pull out the exact information you want once you've trained these models. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. And to answer your question, how many samples do we need? As you can see, these purple icons, these are the ones I have already labeled. It only takes you like a few minutes to label 5 samples at least, and you can get a trained model ready.
With 5 samples?
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. What do you have? What do we have to look forward to in the future? Because I know this is like right now, but can you tell us more about what's coming down the pike?
Sure. Yep. Besides these models I have just introduced, I want to like also highlight the upcoming features we will be supporting in June. So for read, which is the basic OCR extraction, we will support more document type, including all these popular Office formats and HTML documents. We will also like help you detect page object, which including paragraphs, headers, footers from your document, and enhance the dense table extraction for the layout model. I have introduced the new pre-built model with vaccination card and health insurance card, but we are also going to do the language expansion to existing models, including business card and the invoice. For custom model, as I just demoed, we will continue support the tables, especially the tables that cross multiple pages that you can train using the custom model. And for Studio, you can also use the API endpoint and key-based access, and we are expanding to US government endpoint as well.
So this is all really amazing. I love seeing what was, what is now, and then what's coming. Where can people go to find out more?
Oh, you can definitely go to our different links, aka.ms AI Show Automate Form Recognizer. Using this short link, you can access all the resources available.
Fantastic. There, I know there's a learn more link. So if you want to learn more, there's a link right there for you. And then finally, there's some FAQs there. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, thank you for watching.
Thank you so much, Lou, for being with us. We've been learning all about the newest features from Azure Form Recognizer with my friend Lou. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. How about them apples?
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Had you seen that before, Vinod?
I hadn't seen that particular video, but obviously, we've been seeing some of the stuff that Lou's been preparing for.
No, I've never seen any of the stuff I've been working on for the last
But I'm here to answer questions.
Answer questions. So,
yeah.
Hold on. Janice Q number 7 is here. I have to. Janice Q 7. The force indeed is strong with this tool. Vinod, an important question. When you were making this tool, were you like, we need to imbue it with the force?
We definitely always need the force, right? That's like
always need the force.
Yeah.
Always. So there's no questions in there yet, but please have the questions come in. I noticed that with particularly with Form Recognizer, and then maybe some of the other cognitive services, is that we started out with the API, and then we started building these studio things. Can you tell us about the evolution of that, how we got to it, and then what these things are for?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like is the genesis story and where we are today with what we've heard from feedback in terms of what customers expect, right? So when we started off, they started off as cognitive services, which is essentially just a request response model, right? So we host a model, you send in a request, you get a response that is essentially the output of that model. And that worked really well for a lot of the simple things that we do with cognitive services, right? So even like any of our pre-built models would probably work really well with that, right? But as you start getting into this notion of saying we're building custom models now, and as soon as you start getting into the customization aspects of it, that customization requires you to either provide us some label data or ensure that you can define what customizations you want. And so those bells and whistles are probably just easiest first sort of, it goes back to sort of like the portal experience in Azure even, right? You might want to automate some things, but the first time you do it, you probably go in the portal, click the buttons, try to figure out what you need to do. And once you have the things the way you want them, then you can go off and automate it and write the ARM template or write, whatever automation scripts you need to do it. But it's that visual sort of experience is probably the most relevant for first time users at least.
I see. So it's just you built such a good tool that a good API that you're like, well, we should build a tool on top of that so people know how to just get started really fast. Are you seeing good uptake on the use of the studios?
Absolutely. I mean, with the custom models, there's really no other way to do it effectively, right? I mean, the labeling process is sort of visual intensive. Like you need to know what you're labeling, and you need to know how it's going to get labeled. And so JSON is not intended for humans to read, and so as a human, if you're trying to do this, it's super painful. So the studio just simplifies that whole experience for you. So there's a tremendous amount of uptake in terms of interest in continuing to use the studio. And we've also sort of like had this secondary tool that we called FOTT or the sample labeling tool that was sort of around for a while. It's also open source. And so a lot of customers have taken that and sort of like adapted that for their needs. So whether that be like, white labeling it or maybe adding some additional functionality to it to sort of like, meet their business needs. But that's also been sort of a good sort of lead into what customers want to do with Form Recognizer.
Yeah, and it's cool because FOTT is like the studio light but open source. Is that right? Is that still the case?
Well, it's yes, but the way to look at it is also the studio is really intended to work with our latest API, which is essentially the 3.0 API.
I see.
FODD still works perfectly well with the 2.1 generally available API, but the general direction for customers is the studio is where we're investing. The studio is the best experience that they can get with anything that they want to do with Form Recognizer today.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. And we're absolutely planning to sort of figure out how we make those same components in the studio available for customers if they wanted to build their own experience, right? So like we haven't really gotten there yet, but whether we open source it or whether we create some components that customers can use or make the like make the patterns open source, but some way for customers to essentially adopt that pattern and build on.
That's cool. So is the pattern moving forward adding more built-in models? Obviously custom models, you can do anything, but my sense is that like the pattern I've seen over the last year or two is adding more. For example, we just did vaccines as Lou mentioned, and we did ID cards. Before that we had, I don't even remember. I mean, there's so many in there, but is the pattern that we're going to add new standard things?
Absolutely. I mean, that's if you look at what customers want two things, right? They want accuracy, and they want three things. They want accuracy, they want cost benefit, which is essentially like pay the least for this, and then the third thing they want is essentially ease of use, right? If you think about all of those three things, that's essentially where pre-built models shine, because pre-built models are a fraction of the cost of custom models. Pre-built models give you that, like we've trained it on a wide variety of data of that particular document type, and so it gives you that accuracy that you're looking for as well. So I think that's definitely the direction that customers want us to go in, and we're going to continue to invest in that. But we're also investing in ensuring that it's super simple to train a custom model, right? So we're working on ways that you can essentially broaden the scope of what a custom model can do with the minimal amount of work needed.
I mean, that's really cool. I think the idea of having something that's so universally needed. I mean, the act of taking something off a form and putting it into a computer, like there are people, tens of millions of people hours being used to do just that. Imagine being able to free those people to do other business critical things. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and I was actually listening to the show earlier, and as you were talking about like AI will not replace people,
Yes.
we in our case we also recognize that, right? So part of what we do is also say, we're probably trying to shift the burden of work from human to AI, but we're never going to essentially replace one or the other. Right?
I love the idea of shifting, kind of like when the car was made. It wasn't like cars replaced humans. Exactly. I mean, they just sort of shifted the burden of work, like the Industrial Revolution shift machines. We didn't have to carry stuff anymore or like hold stuff. We had machines that did that. So
and it's also the Industrial Revolution analogy brings us to another thing, which is the scale analogy, right? Which is to say, as a human, you can only process maybe 20 documents an hour, maybe 100 documents an hour, depending on how complex each document is. But with this, you start getting to the point like take audit workflows, for example, right? If you had to audit invoices, you would take a 50 invoice sample, randomly sample those and audit them and say like, yeah, these all look good, so I'm assuming the rest of the 1,000 look good as well. But now you can actually take those 1,000 invoices, run them through this process, and now you've got a much higher fidelity audit.
Yeah, because the computer, it just won't get tired.
Exactly. and it's consistent, right? If it makes the mistake, it'll make that same mistake, and then you can figure out how you do this. Whereas as humans, you might get distracted and you might look at something and you might fat finger something.
I mean, there's all sorts of different kinds of mistakes all the time, Vinod. It's exhausting. And that's a cool. The other thing that I thought was cool is that the demo that we did for Microsoft Build, like we literally held up, and I got rid of those papers, but I printed out like a fake, ID. I literally held it up to the camera, pushed a button, and it like filled out the form. It was that good.
Wow, that's exactly what we're shooting for, right? So the team's been working really hard on getting the accuracy up, like the making sure we can deal with all these different variations, different formats, different languages. There's lots of different challenges, but it's been a blast.
Fantastic. All right, well, my friend, it's been delightful to be with you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll have you on soon to talk about more form recognizer stuff, maybe some new models, maybe some new customizations. I'm excited for that, my friend.
Lots coming. Yeah, definitely.
All right, buddy. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We have some time left. I'm going to turn on some of the music here. We have some time left. So there's a couple of options. I'm going to give you two for the people that are here. We can replay the keynote, and I can pause it and do some commentary because I was involved in the keynote, which would be really fun. Or I could dust off Rochambeau, and we could look at, because I haven't looked at it in since the last time we looked at it together. And you know how you look at code back then and you get mad at yourself? You can watch me live get angry with myself about how garbage my code is. So those are two options. Option number one, I'll pull, and if you didn't see the keynote, it's very different. So I can play that, and I'll pause it and do some commentary, and then you can ask me questions. Or we'll do Rochambeau. So in the chat, just put 1 for replay the keynote with some commentary. 2, Rochambeau. You can start voting now. So I'll just wait for all the votes. Oh, wait, they're going to come in soon. 1, play the keynote. 2, I should download the keynote. By the way, if you haven't seen it, it's easy to download. You can totally do it. The keynote from DF Meta is saying the keynote. That's number 1. So let me go get it. Microsoft built. As always, on brand, Janny Scoo. He just wants us to do it all. I want to do it all too. I want to do it all. One day, when me and Janny Scoo retire, we're going to probably be paragliding, off a cliff or something together. And there's going to be that picture of him and I together, just like arm in arm, paragliding. It's going to be delightful. I'm excited. I want to do it all too. Yeah, the keynote was fun. All right, so it looks like I'm getting some convergence. If anyone wants me to do Rochambeau, that's cool too. So let me go download the keynote because I haven't done that yet. If you haven't seen it, you can go to Microsoft Build. What am I doing? Microsoft Build 2022. There it is. Here, I'm going to share my screen to show you what I'm doing. So let me share my screen. Share screen, and I want this one. Okay, share. Okay, so hopefully you're not looking at my screen. Here we go. There we go. So I just did I Googled with Bing, Microsoft Build 2022, and then I hit this thing. If you go to Session and Backpack, and you go to Session Scheduler, I think that's that, or My Schedule or something. Oh, I have a 2. So we might do that too. So maybe I'll do a little bit of the keynote, and then I'll dust it off and see if I remember. And then go to My Schedule. Our thing was on Wednesday. So this is it right here. I'm gonna download it. So download video. You can't hear this, so I'll just download this. How do you download? Download. Boom. Okay, downloading the keynote right now. This is great. This is excellent television. Watching things download is probably the greatest thing you'll ever do on a live stream. So I'm downloading this keynote. I'm going to upload it so that we can go through it. And then you can be like, hey, questions about that? Yes. Loca is saying, I enjoy the office vibes. Yes, we were going for that. You can ask me any questions too. So, okay, it's almost downloaded. Cool beans. Now what I do is I upload it here. Upload video file. So let me go to downloads here. Boom. It's uploading right now. Okay. Cool. All right, so I am going to play it a little bit, but I'm going to play it, with me side by side. So I'm going to add it to this. So I'll pause it right here. The idea was after Kevin Scott's keynote, Kevin Scott's keynote was awesome. It was like a bunch of people doing really cool stuff. I was really excited to go off and do something with AI. And so I'll play this. I'll put myself in. So that was me right after being really excited about the keynote. I walked out, and I thought that would be cool because I was hoping people would be like, wait, this doesn't feel right, because usually it's just like people stand up and are like, with the power pose or upside down, hi, today we're going to talk about blah 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 blah, and I didn't want to do that to y'all, because day 2, things can get long. So here's me walking out of the keynote with my corn nuts. That's our literal office. This is literally our office. We work in Bravern, which is in Bellevue. It's my office. By the way, early cuts of this had so early cuts of this had parking rack underneath, and it just sounded so good. We can't use it. But with the Parks and Rec song underneath, it was delightful. So I was super inspired by Kevin's keynote, talked all about AI. I heard that you're the guy to talk to about doing stuff with AI. So since we're in... By the way, if you're watching, this is Eric Boyd. He actually owns the AI platform in Azure. And he's like my boss's boss, right? So like that level of thing. The guy is delightful. Like the fact that he would hang out and do something like this, I think was really cool. I had a really good time. He's such a good dude. Really smart guy. Like that is and you probably don't know, that is a 5-sided Rubik's Cube. And you know how sometimes when you want to concentrate, you fidget. Sometimes you do a little fidget. Sometimes I've seen in meetings solve a 5x5 Rubik's Cube while like solving some very huge problems, and it's just delightful. And it was good planning how you match close at the end with Eric. Yes, we did. We filmed this about a month ago. Well, not a month, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, right? Because I mean, we couldn't do this live, obviously. So, and then what we did is we tried to make it so that there was some continuity. So that's Eric Boyd, delightful guy. Yeah, definitely office vibes. That's what we're going for. So, all right, we'll play some more. In a conference, I thought, why not build a conference app? What can I do to get started? So here, I don't want it. One of the things I was right. I don't want it to look like he was uninterested. He was totally interested. But that's, how sometimes you fidget with your... He does that sometimes. It's really cool. Super, super smart guy. Yeah, Eric's awesome. He's a champ.
I get a lot of questions about how AI can help accelerate.
Let me rewind this. So this was the key part, right? The idea was like these goofy parts were supposed to go right into stuff with AI. So since we're in a conference, I thought, why not build a conference app? What can I do to get started?
I get a lot of questions about how AI can help accelerate business change and how people can get started.
Do you see that? That was on purpose. So it was supposed to flow, because the middle parts, if you look at like timing wise, only like 5 minutes total. It's not the most important part, but it was designed with the intent. And by the way, the production studio people and everyone, super awesome, right? We even, like, if you were an MVP, I think, I don't know who was able to come. Maybe there's people watching that. We actually screened this with MVPs to tighten it up a little bit too, because it was actually much longer, and there was some much longer pieces.
In fact, we've seen AI and machine.
And he literally goes through just like what you would see in a regular conference, right? Which is like, it was supposed to be like when you watch The Office. Sometimes they sit down and talk about what they're feeling and stuff. That's what this part was supposed to be. So I'm going to fast forward that part.
Integrate a variety of Microsoft RAI tooling in one central place. Seth wants to.
So these are actual PMs. I think that's Eric's hand. But these were actual PMs in the office that we filmed for what's called B-roll, which is secondary. I don't know. They call it B-roll. I know it's B-roll. It's because you overlay it. And here's the colleagues that were
error analysis,
with me.
causal inference, and counterfactual analysis. This is part of our larger effort on the Responsible AI Toolbox to integrate a variety of Microsoft RAI tooling in one central place. Seth wants to build a conference app using AI. He's going to need a lot of help. Do me a favor. Teach him.
Do you see that? Do you see the cup? Did everyone get that? He is the world's best boss. Good dude.
That's impossible.
If you want me to quit, just tell me.
I knew I should have taken that job at LinkedIn.
You know, I'm actually really
So that part was so funny because I'm supposed to be like the annoying office worker that's really eager to do the right thing, but sometimes a little annoying. I'm also that a little bit in real life. No, that's not true. These people are absolutely delightful people. After we filmed, we all went out to dinner together. Such lovely people.
excited about AI. But on the other hand, I have watched a lot of Terminator movies. I could totally make an AI business, or I could move to a cabin in the woods, learn some karate.
I should have gone full friends and said something like karate, said it like that would have been funnier, but I didn't do it.
You didn't even see that coming. I made myself a yellow belt. Picture this, a conference AI app that looks at your pinky toe, knows.
That guy is Daniel Schneider. For those that don't know him, he is one of our lead PMs that creates the architecture of what Azure machine learning might look like. Like, this is an actual guy. I work with him a lot.
What kind of programmer you are. A conference AI app that looks at your left eyebrow and knows if you're going to be a good worker.
This guy is he was one of the production people, and he's always wanted to be in a show like this. And so he's one of the production people. Super nice dude.
A conference AI app that knows how you feel. Oh no, what you're thinking.
This is one of our actual PMs that works on the cognitive service. By the way, if you have any questions about this, just put them in the chat. I'll answer them because I'm trying to do like director's cut here. So funny. That is Sarah Bird. She is one of our experts, responsible AI. That book she has, Explainable Artificial Intelligence, is actually my book. And we're trying to think like, how can we make it so that everybody knows that she knows about responsible AI. And so the thing was that she was supposed to read this book, because obviously those suggestions that I had for AI are all ridiculous. All of them. I'm not a fan of the next wave of digital phrenology using AI. I'm not a fan of that. And so I wanted to make those seem ridiculous. But that is Sarah Bird. And we had a conversation about this book because I just recently got this. She's like, explaining artificial intelligence is one part of RAI, but there's a whole bunch more. And it was cool. All right, I'll keep playing.
Being responsible with AI is a core feature of everything we do. Responsible AI at Microsoft begins with our AI principles: fairness and inclusiveness.
See, and so those little things are supposed to lead you into the next part. Because I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe you can tell me in the chat. I have a hard time paying attention for a half hour for stuff like this. I mean, what about y'all? Anyone else have a hard time paying attention to stuff like this? Oh, I know. Hello, Sharafuddin. Welcome, my friend. Yeah, we're not actors. We're actual PMs on the team. And like I said, we have a lot more footage that we just couldn't use. So I'll play it.
Reliability and safety, privacy and security, and transparency and accountability. These principles tell us what we want to achieve with each AI system we create.
Indeed.
To implement them, we need to think about three things. First, how to govern the AI system responsibly. Second, how to develop it responsibly. And finally, how to use it responsibly. Let's take a look at how we did this for Azure OpenAI as an example. Before you even start building an AI system.
And see, we talked about this with Chris today, about how they do this, and so it's really cool. We started with Azure OpenAI. So let me fast forward a little bit here. Here, this is probably my favorite, funniest thing ever.
Fortunately, we have tools in Azure Machine Learning, like the new Responsible AI dashboard,
So
to
good.
help you do this for your AI systems.
So this feels like a lot. Are people actually doing this?
There's a way to be responsible with AI. Let me show you something.
Funny story. This thing, like if you're just starting in tech, you've probably never seen one of these. How many people have seen one of these things? We had to go to the production team had to get this thing from a school, and it was sitting somewhere in the back, and the top was all rusty, and it was really hard to find one of these. And they brought it in. Gerardo was saying, while watching some build, I was actually thinking you probably had a blast. Yeah, it was so much fun, and we have a lot more footage that just didn't make it in, obviously, because the most important part was, I'm just highlighting the fun parts right now, but the most important parts were clearly the content, and that I wanted to honor that as well. Looks like Loka does indeed know what this is, and this here little bit, that was not on purpose. It just didn't work. And so we cracked up so hard when that thing didn't work, because the whole situation was just beyond ridiculous. At least I thought.
Gosh, why not become a surgeon?
And then we play the NHS video about being responsible with AI, and the stuff that NHS is doing is just absolutely fantastic. And I should get you a link, but if you Google with Bing, NHS and Azure AI, you'll see what's going on. And yeah, it was perfect. That was probably our favorite. Like, we spent a lot of time just trying to find one of those things. By the way, okay. So this NHS video is really good. Now, this part used to be a lot longer, but we shortened it a little
Picture
bit.
this, an AI-powered robot. Don't mind the square head. I know that's weird. Square mouth. Choose your...
So these folks are actual PMs on the team, right? Sandeep, right? We have Aishigal, and all of these people literally work on the product. Like, they're like actual people there. And what we did is we sent an email. I think it was 2 days before. Hey, everyone, show up so that we can get you in our video.
Food powered by AI. So you have flan, although there is two schools of thought on that. A good spicy paella would be delicious for it to chew. Have you ever choked on a meatball? I have. It doesn't come out. AI chewing robot. Question?
So what exactly are you trying to accomplish here?
Yeah, so I don't even know how to get started.
Sometimes getting started with AI is as simple as getting started with AI.
Oh, that part was a lot longer, but we trimmed it down, because like a conference AI robot that chews food is just absolutely. I mean, would you buy that? I wouldn't. Teach it for $3. Yeah, indeed. They were more like putting up with me for $4. Secretly, Netta was there. Netta was going to come today, but she had a conflict because she actually is in charge of all the form recognizer stuff. So she's delightful. Okay, hold on. So this is the thing that Lou showed, and that we built. And if you go to aka.ms, build Azure AI, you can actually look at the repo, because we open sourced all the code for this too, so you can go see that. Let me put it in one. Let me put it in a banner here, so that way, aka.ms build Azure AI. Okay, so Here it is. You can go there, and you'll be able to see this code. Like it's all there. We wanted to make sure that, and we try to make it so it's easy to set up, but sometimes that stuff can be a little tricky. So please put issues in our repos, and we'll solve them as soon as we can. Okay, so this is the actual product.
Resting canvas recognizes the original.
Here we go.
To be vaccinated, Air Canada followed.
Air Canada used the same strategy to fill out forms for vaccination cards, and so that's what this was. And they're really cool. Their video was really cool.
We delivered that on time.
Really exciting for Air Canada going forward, thinking about different initiatives and projects that we have on the horizon.
Example that I can give is we have some maintenance sheet. These are printed documents, and we want to extract information from this printed document.
We're just scratching the surface of what AI can do within the airline industry. We're really excited to collaborate with Microsoft for future projects.
Cool beans, right? Hey, Guy. Hello, my friend. We're just, by the way, Guy, we're just previewing like the keynote, that we did on, I think it was Wednesday. I don't even know. And I'm going behind the scenes and telling you extra stuff, by the way. How can Azure AI be useful for government entities such as water and electricity? Oh, I mean, if anyone has a form that they want to extract data out of, immediately useful. Also, predictions, anomaly detections. Maybe you have sensors on pipes and you want to make sure that if there's a leak or if there's a low power or a transformer breaks, you can have sensors there to do predictions on whether something may or may not. There's tons of stuff you can do, my friend. Anomaly form detector. Best of both worlds. I'm gonna give you a round of applause for that one, and a yay. Yes, indeedy. All right, so here we go. That is B Stolnitz. She is a principal cloud advocate in our DevRel team. She built a lot of the demo for, you saw the Homer stuff earlier. But we did Homer with GPT-2 inside of Azure ML, which was really, really cool. Optimizing water usage with ML. Great example. So that's B Stolnitz.
So listen, Abe, I'm thinking, what if we built an AI model that generated heroic...
Abe is one of our PMs, actual PM, that works on the Azure machine learning team. And he works on, like, the stuff that he's showing, he works on it. And so that was the other thing. We were really trying to make it so you could see, like, our people, in a human way. So
copy for our conference.
That sounds like something custom, right?
Is that hard to do?
Taking custom models from idea to business value is hard. Add the need for collaboration, governance, security, etc. It seems like this task becomes impossible. Thankfully, we have Azure Machine Learning. Azure ML is a service for accelerating.
He's such a delightful dude, by the way. And he goes through and shows how to use Hugging Face GPT-2 model, because we wanted to make sure that it ran in an hour, instead of GPT-3, which runs in like more. But we go through and show you how to do GPT-2, how to deploy it, and how to actually use it. It's really cool. And again, if you go to aka.ms build Azure AI, here, let me bring the banner up here. You can actually go and look at the code. All right, so this is another one of our PM. I did not get his name. Here, I did not get his name. But he was so good at. We filmed him for like probably 2 minutes of him just working and looking at a board. It was so good. Oh, that there. It's hard to see.
Lastly, we're announcing integration with R Studio Workbench, which allows users familiar with R to use Azure ML more natively.
Question about this. Government entities would like to host on premises. Is it possible Azure AI can be host internal? Yes. If you're looking at the top of the stack, Cognitive Services has containers that you can use on premises, right? And Azure Machine Learning, there's an event later where I'll show this, probably in June 15th, I think. where we're showing Arc-enabled on-premises Kubernetes clusters running Azure machine learning jobs. On-premises, Arc-enabled, on-premises. It's delightful. So yes, Sharafuddin, indeed, you can do cognitive services on-premises using containers, and you can do Azure machine learning on-premises, both for training and for inference, using Arc-enabled Kubernetes on-premises clusters. Great. Here's I wish we had anomaly detection in our water counters. We had a leak and the invoice was 500 euros. We noticed and cut the water, but they could have alerted us overnight. Indeed. You can also, of course, export to Onyx and do inference on premises and in the edge, as they call it now. But there may be a situation, Gerardo, where you might want to do even training on premises because the data is so sensitive. You can do that with Arc. Fantastic. All right, so that is Misha. He's one of our VPs that does data science here for us. Genius guy. But I told him he would show up, and we got his hand. So that's Misha. Let me make sure. Misha Balenko. Genius guy. I just looked it up. Yeah. He's a super smart guy. Really nice. Misha Balenko. Just want to bring that. And we've got a couple minutes here, and I want to make sure I honor. Oh, here we go.
Would you like some?
She said it really fast, but the word was gross. That is Minsoo Thigpen, and she is a PM in the RAI, in our RAI space, working on the dashboard. And she's so good at acting. Look at that face. I'm pointing with my mouse, but obviously you can't see that. So
Listen, this AI is going to be amazing. So how about we use AI to limit access to our AI with AI?
You could, but have you talked to Sarah about doing this responsibly?
So I really wasn't paying attention.
Great.
Busted. She was there the whole time. What? She's so funny. Like, disapproving Sarah now is a thing. So be responsible with AI.
She's right behind me.
Having the right tool makes a world of difference when it comes to building custom AI models responsibly. The Azure Machine Learning Responsible AI.
I know, right? That stare. She's so funny. But like, the thing about it that's cool is you wouldn't know because she's super professional. But man, she leaned in. She's so funny. So funny. That's right.
Dashboard and scorecard helps put in.
And this was cool because this little video montage that you see with this is, I actually cut that up myself because I learned how to do Premiere, Adobe Premiere, and so I'm dangerous.
Stakeholders along, as well as assisting in compliance review. Hopefully, with these new tools, you will be empowered to take the next step and start developing, using, and governing your machine learning models responsibly. Seth, your ML model disproportionately favors those who use spaces instead of tabs, and also those programmers not living in Antarctica.
Well, spaces all the way. And with real estate prices, Antarctica would make a great summer location.
It's true. So here's another disapproving guy. What you don't know is we actually generated fake data so that we could show a model being irresponsible, right? When it comes to AI, especially with being responsible, there are a ton of axes that we need to be careful about. Whether it's gender, race, access to things, the type of service. There's tons of things, but we didn't want to conflate all of those concerns with what we were going to show at build And so we generated actual fake data. If you go to the thing, you'll be able to see the data in there. It's in a Parquet file of like, I don't know, I think it's 10,000 developers, and like what if they use tabs or spaces, where they live, and we force generated using probability and statistics, force generated these data according to a distribution that would automatically favor the people that we're talking about. And so you can totally look at that. I actually built a library. It's not all the way done yet. It's called Fibber.io in Python. You can pip install it and you give it a task, and it will generate fake data for you using unlimited nested conditional distributions. So that was another thing that we didn't have time to talk about, but that's why it looked that way.
Seth,
what's up?
You're late. I have one rule around here. If you're not 10 minutes early, you're late.
Sad TikToks.
So, Seth,
Yes.
you talked to a lot of people today. Tell me what you learned.
I feel like maybe if I say too much.
No, Seth, I promise.
Okay.
We're not going to cut you off.
Okay. And I think the most important takeaway for me was how.
To summarize.
By the way, for those that are watching this are like, well, that's rude. Your boss is cutting you off. No, I mean, I wrote this way. Like, that was the gag. Like, at the beginning, like, I was like, so what do you know about AI, Seth? And then boom. That's the funny, because the reality is that what I had to say was not important. What they had to say was super important. We were just trying to lighten the mood in between so that it would carry people forward. But he is a delightful guy. Such a nice guy. In fact, one time I showed up, my kid was playing soccer, right? And I showed up, and he was playing his son's team, and he was the coach. And our team like, hey, Eric, it's good to see you. He's like, hey, is your son plays out? Yeah, there's my son right there. And he had his son. And my goodness, like my son's team beat his team like 5-1 or something. And then he sent an email out that Monday, because he sends an email out every week, about what's going on and stuff like that. Super nice guy. And he's just like, hey, Seth's son's team destroyed my son's team. And it was just hilarious. Like, that's the kind of guy. He's a super nice guy. So
The Azure AI portfolio supports many different approaches for getting started with AI. Whether harnessing new document models in Form Recognizer, building models from the ground up with Azure Machine Learning, or even using a combination of different approaches. I can't wait to see how developers continue to use these tools to build powerful, responsible AI applications.
That's what I learned. It's been amazing. Look, we're in a conference right now. Do you want to go back and maybe answer some questions?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Oops. So there was a part that we took out just for time where I'm like standing in the elevator with him, and we're like way too close. It's like awkward close, and he kind of moves over and I kind of move closer. It's so funny. But obviously, you can't, there isn't enough time. So you got to pull stuff out sometimes. That's my fault. So we are indeed running downstairs. My wife's and then this is where we jump to the live part. The Ninja Turtle with the stick is the best one.
Yeah, but it's all about the bandana. And
Yeah,
that's the thing
that's
that
true.
makes the big difference to me is like who's got the coolest looking bandana.
I know. And I was going to wear a bandana for this, but they told me I couldn't.
Yeah, bandanas they're kind of a little.
Oh, look at that!
Wow.
And those are actual MVPs. All right, Eric. I'll put the light on this. And then we go through a live Q&A, like there on the studio, and it was really cool. And Sarah came in too. Sarah actually lives in New York, and so she was in the office in New York, but she came all the way out here to hang out with us. Okay, so that was our keynote. I thought it was awesome. I had a good time. Did everyone get a chance to watch it? If you didn't, you should go and do that. Just go to aka.ms/build Azure AI. Here you go. Let me put the link up here. Boom. Go there so that you can watch it. Okay. So we only have about a minute left. So I gotta put the we're closing shop up a little bit. It's been delightful being with you. Next week next week, we have Learn TV live stream 2022 build recap part 2, Azure ML, managed online endpoints, responsible AI, and much more. Super excited to be with every one of you. As always, it's a pleasure being with you, and hopefully you had a good time. I know I did. And we're going to start getting to more regular shows. So thank you so much for being with us, and hopefully, my friends, we'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks to Clarkio. Literally just bombed me now. Here, so I'm gonna say hello to everybody here so that you can see me, because everyone, I just got like, hi. We just finished, but we'll be back next week. Same time, same bat station. Thank you. Yeah, we had a really fun time. We actually got behind the scenes on our keynote. But thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.